Good afternoon. Last lecture we solved the numerical example on probability theory, and in this lecture we have studied the relative frequency approach for the probability. In the 18th century, British statistician interest in the theoretical foundation for calculating risk of loss in the life insurance and commercial insurance began defining the probability from statistics collect on the birth and death. And this approach is called relative frequency approach. And this approach of computing probability is uh, based on the assumption that a random experiment can be repeated a large number of times under the identical condition where trials are independent and for each other. While conducting an experiment, we may or may not observe the desired event, but as the experiment is repeated many times, that event may be occur some proposition of time. For example, if coin is tossed 10 times, we may get hit 6 times. In this method, we cannot determine probability exactly, but can approximate it. If an experiment if an experiment is repeated n times and event A has occurs m times, then P of A is determined by finding the relative frequency, that is m by n. And since the probability of an event A is the ratio of the number of times that A has the occurs in trial of an experiment, the probability is taken as the limiting from of the m by n as n to infinity. And since the probability of an event determined objective by repeating empirical observation of experimental outcome, it is known as empirical probability. And in the following situation where the approach of the relative frequency of the probability applied. That is, first observe the red signal as the particular cross while going to office, and second observing the birth and noting the sex of baby, and third survey for adult for smokers. And we seen the example of the relative frequency approach, that is, the following is the data regarding the annual rainfall at a certain place for 100 years. That is, in this first table rainfall, second table is number of year. Rainfall is 700 mm and number of year 10, and 800 mm number of year 75, and rainfall 900 mm number of year 5, and rainfall 1000 mm number of year 10. And then find the probability of getting 800 mm rainfall. That is, solution probability of getting 800 mm rainfall equal to, that is, the relative frequency, that is relative frequency probability is, that is m by n. M is the favorable event, and divide n is the total sample space. That is, we have give the certain place of 100 years data, that is here n is 100 and m is favorable event is 800 mm is 75, that is 75 divide 100 equal to 0.75, that is the relative frequency is 0.75.